All right, welcome back to the Virtue Bowling Supply YouTube channel. My name is Chris and I'm here to bring you guys the high rev perspective.
And my name is Josh and I'll be bringing the low rev perspective.
Today we're gonna be taking a look at the brand new DV8 Double Trouble, and I'm gonna be comparing that to the Hammerhead Pearl and the Brunswick Crown Victory Pearl.
And I'll be comparing it to the One Ovation and the Brunswick Combat. These comparisons will give us and you an idea of what these pieces look like going down the lane. At the end, we will give our honest, unbiased review anywhere from nuts to trash. With that being said, we are here on a fresh house shot at Bolero Union Hills. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you out on the lanes.
This gives me very much hazmat pearl vibes. Even though it's a pearl, it felt really strong. I definitely felt like it floated through the early front part of the lanes, but wanted to start hooking very soon to me. This kind of chuggy and super round shape definitely felt like the hazmat pearl, and I really liked that ball out of box. And so the first few shots I didn't feel like I really liked as much, but I feel like I was just a little too far left. Once I took a step right and kind of kept my angles in front of me, this one looked a little bit better. I was kind of afraid of that right early friction miss and it being a little too quick, but honestly it handled it pretty well and never really jumped off of it too early. There was definitely a couple where I kind of got friction down lane and there was just a little too much, so it kind of jumped through the face a little bit. But honestly, for it being a slightly cleaner cover, it blended the friction pretty well. So now I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Hammerhead Pearl and see how that compares. To me, the Hammerhead Pearl out of box almost felt like a hazmat pearl as well, so I kind of thought that these two would be pretty similar. To me, I do think that the Hammerhead Pearl is maybe a slightly weaker option. Core-wise, I feel like they both have a pretty similar reaction because of the covers. Both of them didn't really want to hockey stick off of it. They both floated a little bit through the front part of the lane, but still wanted to kind of blend the friction, but still having a little bit of energy and retaining enough to come off the end of the pattern and use the friction to go up through the pins. Overall, both of these are fairly forward going through the pins, in my opinion, but I do think the Hammerhead Pearl just sees it just a fraction later down the lane. So now I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Crown Victory Pearl and see how that compares. To me, the Crown Victory Pearl is definitely the weakest option out of these three. To me, the friction response was also a lot quicker than either of the other two, especially the Double Trouble. I felt like even when I was playing, you would think if it was a little weaker, it'd be try to keep your angles more in front of you and kind of move to the right and find more friction. But with this super quick friction response, I feel like it's just too angular to play straight. And so I'd see that early friction and jump off of it immediately. Even when I moved left and got it to the friction, it still was too much friction response for it to like blend and go through the pins. This went through the face every single time. Even kind of when I moved left, it still just wanted to see it. I never really got that left miss to see if it was gonna read in the oil. I can imagine that it probably wouldn't, but to me, this friction response when I got it to the right was just a lot more. I do think the core is quite a bit weaker, but overall you can shape this ball and it's a lot more angular. All right, final thoughts on the DV8 Double Trouble. Now, the first couple of shots, I wasn't too sure how I was gonna like this ball, but the more I threw it, I feel like I liked it even more. Just because it kind of forced me to keep my angles in front of me and be a little bit more aggressive. To me, this fits somewhere in like the medium sharp category. It definitely wants to float, but it's still strong enough off the end of the pattern not to really miss it. So to me, ball reaction was pretty good. I think this is gonna be pretty versatile. I think lower rev rates and higher rev rates can kind of get pretty good use out of it. So to me, I think this is gonna fit in the fire category, and I'm really curious to kind of see how this tames down flatter patterns as well.
This ball for me, visually, it definitely pops. One of those balls where you would notice it on the rack. And for me, I felt like it wasn't my favorite shape going down the lane. It definitely, I feel like it's kind of in between like a Hammerhead Pearl and a Hazmat Pearl, somewhere along, you know, in that stronger symmetrical pearl shape. I did feel like I had to really open up my angles. I felt like when it saw oil, it just didn't really want to do anything. As if I was a little bit more forward, I feel like it did see it. There's a couple shots later where you could see that. It just took me a little bit to figure it out, but once I did do that, I felt like it blended the lane a little bit better. I even had a couple little messengers in there, which for me kind of made me excited, but I did know that it wasn't shaping as early as I wanted it to. I could tell. Just wish it was just a little bit stronger, just to, you know, trust that it was going to hook a little bit sooner. So now we're gonna go ahead and throw 5 shots with the One Ovation and see how it compares. Just threw 5 shots with the One Ovation. This ball for me is definitely a ball up from the Double Trouble. I felt like it did hook a little bit sooner to where it kind of gave me a more predictable shape. Still had enough, you know, sharpness off friction, but I just felt like it wasn't so touchy to friction like the Double Trouble was. So now we're gonna go ahead and throw 5 shots with the Brunswick Combat and see how it compares. This ball for me was, I would say, a little bit earlier than the Double Trouble, but definitely cleaner than the one. I would say it's closer to the Double Trouble. I felt like I still had to be open with it, but you could still see how it was just a little bit smoother off of friction. It wasn't so whippy, just because I feel like that asymmetrical core was just kind of doing its job there, making it a little bit earlier. And overall, still not the ball I would choose for what's out there right now. I felt like I needed a bigger ball closer to the one, or even something stronger than that. But I do feel like compared to the Double Trouble, like I said, definitely a ball up. If you had it with surface, I feel like both of these balls could still have reason to fit in the bag. Final thoughts on the Double Trouble. For me, this ball was just kind of a weird niche ball that I don't see myself throwing a lot. Like I said, I didn't have any terrible luck with it. I still felt like I had a line, still felt like I was able to kind of strike some of the time, but it just wasn't a type of ball that I'm used to throwing. For me, I had kind of troubles rating this one because it just kind of, for me, is like in between categories, but I'm gonna put it in the meh just because I don't see myself throwing this on a lot of patterns. I feel like it is more niche. I feel like it is made for kind of, you know, centers that are made to hook a little bit more. And I just overall don't think that this is going to see a lot of lane play. And for that reason, it's going to be a meh.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video useful, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.